Welcome to the Fast Leader Podcast, where we explore convenient yet effective shortcuts that will help you get ahead and move forward faster by becoming a better leader. And now, here's your host, customer and employee engagement expert, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner, Jim Rimbach.
The number one thing that contributes to customer loyalty is emotions. So move onward and upward faster by gaining significantly deeper insight and understanding of your customer journey and personas with emotional intelligence. With your empathy mapping workshop, you'll learn how to evoke and influence the right customer emotions that generate improved customer loyalty and reduce your cost to operate. Get over your emotional hump now by going to empathymapping.com to learn more. Okay, Fast Leader Legion, today I'm excited because I have somebody on the show today who is going to really help with a couple things, and one primary thing being a good sense of direction. Kimberly Davis's life on stage has taken many forms, from small town beginnings, having grown up on a ranch in northwestern Montana, singing to the cows in below zero temperatures, to the international stage. Guided by the winds of happenstance, Kimberly found her way to the theater, acting on stage across the country and throughout Germany, misplacing, testing, and ultimately discovering her brave. Eventually, she left the theater and, after a very circuitous path, found her way into the world of training and development, where the hundreds of Fortune 500 participants became her education. She'd secretly studied them, and much to her surprise, she discovered that the theater world and the business world aren't that different at all. For the past 15 years, Kimberly has taken that discovery and helped thousands of leaders and emerging leaders from every different industry imaginable perform authentically and powerfully on the high-stakes stage that is work. In her program, On Stage Leadership, in her TEDx talk, through her work at Southern Methodist University's Cox School of Business's Executive Education Program, and now in her new book, Brave Leadership. Kimberly has dedicated her life to cultivating brave, authentic leaders who know how to connect powerfully and get results. Still a small-town girl at heart, Kimberly has crafted a life for herself with her husband Tim and son Jeremy, and feisty cat Sully McGee, in the gorgeous hills surrounding Austin, Texas, where she fights every day to bring her best, most authentic and powerful self, what she calls brave, to every situation she faces. Sometimes she succeeds, sometimes she doesn't, but she's committed to the fight. Kimberly Davis, are you ready to help us get over the hump?
Oh, I so am ready to help people get over the hump, Jim. Thank you for having me here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. Now, I've given our listeners a little bit about you, but can you tell us what your current passion is so that we can get to know you even better?
So, Jim, right now, what I'm really most passionate about is creating a brave movement. I really want to democratize what it means to be brave, because so many people think that they can't be brave. And they don't realize that we are all far more brave than we know. And so I really want to help as many people as I possibly can really connect to the fact that every single one of us has an impact that we can make here in this world.
It is true. And I think after, through the course of our lives, a lot of times that gets dampened. And so for me, when I was actually looking through the book, and just to kind of give a little bit of insight about me, I'm left-handed. So a lot of times I grab a book and I actually look at it from the back to the front. And so for you looking at this book, I came across immediately, which is in the back of the book, the Leadership Manifesto. And then as I started going towards the front of the book and then coming back from, left to right, like it's normal, I started seeing all these things start fitting and coming together. But for you, when you start thinking about the Leadership Manifesto, how did that come about?
Well, so I went the opposite direction, Jim. I've been teaching this content for probably a good 15 years, some iteration of it. And so I've been having these conversations with myself and with others for a really long time. And what I realized is I need a way to crystallize what is it I stand for? So every day, and we'll talk a little bit later about what is it I stand for as an individual, and we'll talk a little later about that. But every day, I can hold myself up to my own standard. Am I living this or am I not? Because if you can say this is what I'm aiming for, then you're more likely to hit it.
It's a really interesting point. And when you started talking, I started thinking about even a conversation I had with my daughter the other day about compromising her principles. About compromising what she believes is the right, behavior and action. And this weekend, she's getting ready to go on a trip away from mom and dad and going to, a place where there's going to be a lot of, things that she's going to get exposed to that's going to, potentially question her judgment. And I told her, I said, look, don't bend and be part of something because you feel like you're going to get cut out or they won't ask you back. I said, instead, you need to influence them and say, you know what? I don't think that's the right thing to do. I said, don't compromise.
Right. That's right. Well, and I think organizations, so many organizations, they have their vision, mission, values. This is what we stand for. But oftentimes they're just lovely things that marketing has put together that lives on a mug, right? Or lives on a poster. And so if we can say, no, these are the actions we're seeing in the hallways, in our conversations with each other, in our meetings, in our client conversations, that this is who we are, then it changes everything.
It does, and another thing that really stood out to me talking about that who we are thing, as I was going through the book, which to me, I think I'm going to, as soon as we get done here, I might start working on my own, because oftentimes if we don't have it, we'll end up wandering, in different places and get off track and not even realize it, is that you have something in here called Uncover Your Super Objective.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So a super objective. So let me back up a little bit. I borrowed the super objective from the theater. I did theater for many, many, many years. And there was a fantastic tool in the theater called the super objective that was codified at the turn of the century by this guy named Konstantin Stanislavski. And what the super objective is essentially if you can get crystal clear about what drives you from that internal space, from a purpose perspective, and you could focus all of your attention to achieve that purpose in whatever situation it is you face, to have an impact outside yourself, then that essentially will allow you to be brave. So your super objective is essentially your purpose in action. What is it you stand for? What is the impact that you want to have outside yourself?
And I would dare to say that when you start thinking about, other than maybe the theater, and maybe even so in the theater, when you start thinking about the different qualities and capabilities of certain actors, is that not a lot of people actually go through and actually find what that is. So do you find yourself oftentimes having to start with that, or do you have to start somewhere else and then ultimately get to that for folks?
Yeah, we all start at different places, and we've all had different journeys and have learned different things. So it all begins with some very, very basic questions. The first question is to really understand, why do you care? For real. Not why do you care, not based on a paycheck, not because your boss says you should care about this or your mom says you should care about this, but why do you personally care about this? And then as you build on that, you start asking yourself, what's the impact I want to have? What's the impact I want to have on my employees? What's the impact I want to have on my clients? What's the impact I want to have on my listeners in your case, or the community, or the industry, or the world, or my patients or students, whatever it is for you specifically, and in addition to that, get really clear on who or what do you care about most, who or what do you want to impact the most. So in your case, Jim, you teach, and you run a podcast, and you write, and you consult, and you coach, and you do all of these different things. Who or what do you care about most? Because if you can get really clear about that, then the byproduct is that it's going to affect everything else, right? So for me personally, I'm a belly button to belly button kind of person. I care about the individuals, but I have specifically chosen to work with leaders because I know that leaders, if I help them uncover their most authentic, powerful selves, then the byproduct of that is there's going to be a tremendous ripple effect, and it's going to change the world. So yes, it's big picture, but the way I go about it is individual to individual. So I care about making a difference in one individual's life and then another individual's life. Some people care about growing their team. It's all about the team. Some people, it's all about the culture. So if you can get really clear on what it is that you care about, and then what's the impact you want to have on that person or that group of people, then that will lead you down an active path to making the impact that you want to have.
As you're talking, I started thinking, too, about the potential risks associated with that if I'm not aware. And one of the risks being is that I start discovering these things for myself. I get excited because I found that connection, but then I start taking that same thing that I've identified myself and try to put it upon others. And so when you start talking about, for example, customer centricity and creating a customer-centric organization, while I may be totally customer-centric, And I do need other people within the organization, and matter of fact, the entire organization, if I can accomplish it, to be more customer-centric as well, because that's how we all can benefit. But do I run the risk of trying to do something onto others instead of helping them to learn and discover that within themselves?
Oh, so that's such a huge insight. So here's the deal. We all, as individuals, have our super objective that's unique to you, right? So for you to impose your super objective on other people, it's not going to have the same impact. In order for people to experience you as authentic, they need to experience you as genuine, worthy of trust, reliance, and belief from their perspective. So they have to make sure that you have to make sure you're standing firmly in their shoes. What do they need from you to experience you as genuine, worthy of trust, reliance, and belief? And then why do they personally care? I remember I was leading a program for a group of directors of operations for a large casual dining chain at one point, and they were going through a tremendous amount of change. And after the first day of the session, it was a 2-day program. After the first day, I met with the SVP who had hired me, and I said, look, here's the problem. They don't understand why they should care about this change. And he looks at me and he says, Kimberly, I'll tell them why they should care. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. They've each got to understand from an individual perspective, why do they personally care? And that's going to really help them harness their own values and their own strengths to do something about it. But if you're imposing something on it, you're never going to get the buy-in. You're never going to get their emotional energy around the change and whatever needs to be done.
I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes I have to explain what the Fast Leader Show really means, because it's not about shortcuts. So the shortcut would be, let me tell you why you need to believe in this, right? And why you need to engage in this, and why we need to accomplish these goals. But the fact is that particular tactic, while it may be easy to say, it creates the most friction.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, it'll get you a quick result. It's not going to get you a lasting result, and you're going to have a byproduct that is not going to be what you want.
Absolutely. And I think we often see that, we see that happening, in a customer environment very much, where, while we'll create a process flow that we want them to go through, but you know what? If we force it upon them, that's going to create a lot of friction.
Yeah, it's never going to work. It's never going to work. Exactly.
It might accomplish your short-term goal, like you say, is, we get more transactions taken, but, now we've basically made everybody upset.
Yeah. Well, and especially now, because the workforce has changed so dramatically in the last 10, 15 years, that we are asking exponentially more of the people that work for us. And, 10 years ago, you never expected someone to answer an email in their pajamas at 10 o'clock at night. And now that's a normal thing. You never expected people to jump on a conference call in the middle of the night or during the dinner hour. But now that's a normal thing. And so if you're going to ask exponentially more of people, then you're going to have to connect to their hearts instead of their heads, because if they don't want to do it, you're not going to get that extra energy.
Yeah, and the reality is those things take time, and they take tactics, they take tools, they take the manifesto to be to the forefront of your mind. And even when I was looking at the manifesto, I started thinking, and I know you don't necessarily mean it this way, but for me, it's kind of like a checklist saying that, okay, where can I focus, or where should I focus? Yeah. What am I doing okay with? What am I not doing okay with? How can I use it as a way to get feedback from others to see where I need to focus? I mean, to me, it could almost be used as a development tool in a lot of different ways.
Well, it holds your feet to the fire. And the manifesto is, we as an organization, this is what we believe, right? We believe that these things. And then you've got your super objective, which is your individual. What do I stand for? So for me personally, my super objective is to connect people to the best of who they are. That's what I stand for. And sometimes I do that, and sometimes I don't. But I get the chance to hold my feet to the fire. Did I do that in this conversation? Did I do it in this meeting? Did I do it in this message that I just sent? Did I do it when I was frustrated and everything was I didn't have time to deal with it? No, I didn't. So I have to clean it up. So if you're really clear about what you stand for, then you know where you need to, where you hit the mark and where you didn't, so you can go back and clean up the mistakes.
Okay, so going through and thinking about this, as far as a pathway is concerned, I start thinking about those folks that are not like me, meaning that I'm always trying to seek out a different way, meaning that I may pivot because of a new piece of information, meaning that I want to focus and help other people develop and And for me, really, that's one of my motivators behind why I develop myself, so that I can help people, and be more successful. It isn't about me grabbing and gaining the success. It's about others.
Right. So you model growth and development for other people. And the way that you do that is you have to grow yourself, because if you don't grow yourself, you can't actually model that. Right.
That's right.
No, exactly.
But not everybody's like that. I mean, there's some people who aren't focused in on that. And so they're the people, when you start thinking about making a bigger impact for themselves in the business, they're maybe not proactive in seeking out those opportunities, but yet we need them to grow and develop. How do you approach those people that just seem so difficult to be able to take to the next level?
Well, so many people haven't even asked themselves the question, why do I care? And so if they think they're doing it for somebody else, they think they're doing it because of their boss, if they think they're doing it for all of these other reasons, then it's going to be hard for them to take any initiative and to get on board and to really get behind it from an emotional perspective, which is where you get that extra energy, right? So if you can get the people on that work for you to really get clear on, this is why I personally care, this is the impact I personally want to have, then they will automatically drive themselves. So I don't know if you've read Dan Pink's book, Drive. As you probably remember, in his book, he talks about 3 key things in order for motivation to happen in this new work environment that we face in the last 10, 15 years. He talks about autonomy. Are you able to make choices about how you do what it is you do? Mastery, do you have a chance to experience yourself getting better and better and better and raising your own bar? And purpose, are you doing something for a purpose greater than yourself? Well, essentially, if you can identify your super objective, this is what I stand for, right? You take action consistently around your super objective in every situation you face, you achieve all 3 things. You achieve autonomy, because nobody's going to tell you, this is how you need to achieve your super objective today. No, you get to choose that all day long. Mastery, it's going to force mastery, because every human being you come into contact with is going to have a different set of needs. And for you to have an impact that you want to have to pay attention to those unique needs in front of you in order for you to have the impact. So it's going to force you to get better and better and better and raise your own bar. And purpose, well, your super objective is essentially purpose in action. So the key to getting those people that don't seem to be engaged and don't seem to be doing it, taking any initiative and doing it for themselves, is to help them start to get clear on what's the impact you want to have. Why do you care for real? You do what you do for the sake of what? Not a paycheck. Why do you care about it? And then they can emotionally drive themselves.
I think what you were just talking about right there is why we have this significant emergence right now in coaching within organizations. Whether it's them being able to do it internally, which is not quite possible for most organizations because they're so thin. There are no internal coaches. I mean, they're very few and far between. And so they're seeking a lot of outside assistance for coaching. But I think that's one reason why they are focusing in on it in one way or another.
Yeah, coaching is so incredibly important, because here's the deal. We came off of the, where we used to scale everything. We treated people like widgets. And in this humanistic movement we're moving into, you cannot scale how people behave. You cannot scale these things. And particularly, you and I talked earlier about the challenges in call centers, how call centers, they like their scripts and everybody should do it the same way. But you know what? If you want that person on the phone to bring their emotional energy and to really serve that customer and listen to them, they have to understand why they personally care about listening to their customers. They have to have a coach that helps them get that clarity around what matters most to them.
That's a great point. And everything that we're talking about here, and you've even said the word several times, and it's all wrapped in all kinds of different emotions, positive and negative. And so when we start thinking about, that emotion on the show, we love to look at quotes. And your book is full of different quotes and some new ones I haven't seen. So I'm looking forward to reading through the rest of the book. But is there a quote or two that you can share that you like?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So my book is right in front of me, and the one that I just turned to, I love them all because I put them in my book. So, but the one I loved that is at the very back of the book is Diane Nayad's, she's the woman that swam from Florida to Cuba. I mean, she's an amazing woman. I think she was like 70 years old when she did this. Her her quote is, "This journey has always been about reaching your own other shore, no matter what it is, and that dream continues." So to get really clear on what it is that lights you up, and so you can start making that impact and start making choices around that, and also start taking responsibility for that. And I think this is where people get really messed up, where they think purpose is all about, it's all about hearts and rainbows and sunshine. But you know what? It's all about responsibility. Because if this is the impact that you are here to make, you have to hold your feet to the fire. Did I have that impact? What actions am I taking? Where am I getting in my own way of having the impact that I want to have? And from an emotional intelligence perspective, am I really clear that I'm having the impact that I want to make in the world on this person, on my team, on my culture? So it forces you to really step into another's shoes and see from their perspective.
Well, and what you're talking about right there, I mean, that can be painful.
It's absolutely, you know what, and this is exactly what you said earlier. You and I are such kindred spirits around this stuff, is that I tell people, look, brave leadership is not going to make your life easier. It's going to make your life harder, but it's going to make your life richer, and it's going to make your results better. And so if we're looking for the fast way of doing things, there is no magic pill. There's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to tell you, follow my 5 steps and you will be brilliant and be successful beyond measure. But that's not true. There is no simple 5 steps. There's one situation at a time. Did you have the impact you wanted to have? Yes or no? If not, what action can you take to get yourself closer? How do you grow yourself to be better?
Exactly right. So, and part of that growth is that we have to go through experiences where we've maybe fallen down or had a hump and we couldn't get over it. But is there a time where you've gotten over the hump, where you actually learned more and you can share it with us?
Oh, every single day. Every single day, Jim. Yeah. So let me think of a very specific time. I talk about in my book, actually, when I went to speak for TEDx, and I had a bit of an anxiety attack right before I spoke at TEDx, and really, it came out of thin air for me, because here I teach about connecting and showing up powerfully and being brave. And, when you talk about being brave and you're not feeling very brave, you're really up against your own stuff, right? So the day before I went in to speak to TEDx, I really melted down, and I had to, teach thyself. I had to go back and use my tools. Okay, what's the impact I'm here to have? This is not about me. Focus my attention outside myself. What's the impact I want to have on these individuals? And I had a suspicion that I might get some kind of emotional pushback on for myself, and so I had packed photographs of all of these participants that I have worked with for the last 10, 15 years. That some of my most beloved people that I'd really seen take themselves from not believing in themselves to really risking owning their brave. And I went into my hotel room and I spread these pictures out all over the room. And I gave my TED talk by myself to these people in this room, but I focused on them. And this is the impact I want to have on you, Gary. And this is the impact I want to have on you. And I connected individual to individual based on these amazing human beings that I knew they were, and got myself back into recognizing, you know what, if I'm focused on what people think about me, and if I'm focused on making a mistake, and if I'm focused on this going viral and me looking stupid, and these are the things I'm focusing on, I can't have the impact that I'm there to have. So I had to find a way to push through all of that, let it go. I talk about pushing through your lines, the messages that you're bumping up against, and focus outside myself to really connect and have an impact.
Thanks for sharing that story. I mean, for me, we have to learn how we as individuals can hijack our own anxieties and feelings of pressure so that we can do exactly what you ended up doing. which is a great
Well, and
job.
it's so funny. People think, and I think this is something that the media perpetuates. People think that you're either brave or you're not. You've either figured it out or you haven't. And brave is not an all or nothing thing. It's not like, okay, I've figured it out. I've got great tools. I've got it dialed in. And every single time now I feel brave. No, the truth is there are so many times in my life I feel afraid. And there are so many times that I don't trust myself and I'm uncertain and I'm overwhelmed and all of this. I feel vulnerable and all of those things, because that's what it means to be human. And to think that you're not going to feel those things is fantasy. But the key is every situation that you face, how can you refocus your attention to get back into the game and let your brave unfold one situation at a time?
Yeah, there was a really good a book written called Crunch Time by one of our guests who's been on the Fast Leader Show that talks about that, talking about that refocusing piece, talking about, how you can, really reflect upon, the fact that you have put in the work, you are, have had some success, and, how can you bring that to this moment right here, right now, so that you can accomplish what you've set out to do. So that's good. Okay. All right. So we talked, about a lot of the things that you're doing. We talked about, you still doing any work in the theater?
Well, I've got a 13-year-old son, so I'm not doing the theater anymore. But I have to tell you, the work that I do, it lights me up more than the theater did. Although I did see The Greatest Showman the other day, and I now am addicted to the soundtrack. And so it kind of reignited this passion for theater. But no, I'm not doing any theater right now.
Well, you've still been on a big stage, and the main stage, been on stage, as you said. So that's great. And you also have this new book and you're promoting it, but you have a lot of things going on. But if you think about one thing that's a goal, what would it be?
The one thing that is a goal, the one thing is that this brave conversation gets out there in a way that is going to make a difference. I'm not, my husband wishes I were driven a little bit more by money. I think we're wired similarly this way. But I'm really not, that doesn't really show up on my radar at all. What drives me is feeling like that someone in Sacramento, California, and someone in Phoenix, Arizona, and someone in Kalispell, Montana, they can pick up this book and they can find themselves and they can be excited about who they are. And seeing people get excited about who they are and what they can do, to me, is the most amazing thing in the world. So I want that to happen for as many people as can possibly happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can definitely connect with you on that because we talked about that off mic. And I would say that getting paid isn't always a monetary thing.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, and the Fast Leader Legion wishes you the very best. Now, before we move on, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. An Even Better Place to Work is an easy-to-use solution that improves the empathy and emotional intelligence skills in everyone. It provides a continuous diagnostic on employee engagement and provides integrated activities that will improve the leadership and collaboration skills in everyone. This award-winning solution is guaranteed to create motivated, productive, and higher-performing employees that have great working relationships with their colleagues and your customers. To learn more about An Even Better Place to Work, visit beyondmorale.com/better. All right, here we go, Fast Leader Legion. It's time for the Hump Day Hoedown. Okay, Kimberly, the Hump Day Hoedown is the part of our show where you give us good insights fast. So I'm going to ask you several questions, and your job is to give us robust, yet rapid responses that are going to help us move onward and upward faster. Kimberly Davis, are you ready to hoe down?
Oh, yes, I think.
All right. Well, growing up on a ranch and living in Austin, Texas, you have to be ready to hoe down. All right, so what do you think is holding you back from being an even better leader today?
What's holding me back from being an even better leader today is second-guessing myself.
What is the best leadership advice you have ever received?
The best leadership advice I've ever received is to be yourself.
What is one of your secrets that you believe contributes to your success?
That I connect deeply with people because I care deeply for people.
What do you feel is one of your best tools that helps you lead in business or life?
My super objective, being able to focus outside myself and get myself back on track when I need to.
What would be one book that you'd recommend to our listeners? It could be from any genre. Of course, we're going to put a link to your show, Brave Leadership, Unleash Your Most Confident, Powerful, and Authentic Self to get the results you need on the show notes page as well.
Well, thank you. But Dan Pink's book, Drive, really, I've been using it in my work for the last 10 years. I think it changed the landscape of what it means to be a leader. So.
Okay, Fast Leader listeners, you can find links to that and other bonus information from today's show by going to fastleader.net/Kimberly Davis. Okay, Kimberly, this is my last Hump Dead On question. Imagine you were given the opportunity to go back to the age of 25. And you've been given the opportunity to take the knowledge and skills that you have now back with you, but you can't take everything back. You can only choose one. So what skill or piece of knowledge would you take back with you, and why?
I would tell myself to trust yourself. I think at 25, I second-guessed myself all the time, and I stopped myself. And so if I could just know, trust yourself, you've got this, move forward anyway, move forward even in the face of that not knowing, I think that would have changed a lot for me.
Kimberly, it was an honor to spend time with you today. Can you please share with the Fast Leader Legion how they can connect with you?
So you can connect me through my website, www.braveleadershipbook.com or onstageleadership.com. I'm also very active on Twitter and LinkedIn. I've got an Onstage Leadership Facebook page. It's under Kimberly. You can look under Onstage Leadership or Kimberly Davis author. And I hope to connect with you because I love connecting with people.
Kimberly Davis, thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. The Fast Leader Legion honors you and thanks you for helping us get over the hump. Thank you for joining me on the Fast Leader Show today. For recaps, links from every show, special offers, and access to download and subscribe, if you haven't already, head on over to fastleader.net so we can help you move onward and upward faster.